Hi, this is Straight Draw back with another Playoff Holes special. This time Tour 8, Eagle Peak. We get to experience the highs and lows of these crazy playoff holes on Eagle Peak. Let's jump right in. This is Eagle Peak Hole 2, and there are a couple of ways to play it. You'll see me show the rough bump first. You land in here, and the other way to play it is to try to bounce in here. The problem with this whole landing area is that it's kind of contoured in a weird way. It makes it hard to bounce toward the pin. So whenever I can, I'm going to play the rough bump, like in this situation where the wind is blowing along the rough line. So I'm more likely to get that ball right on the edge of the rough for the rough bump. If I don't, then I'm going to have to play on that other landing area. So let's talk about the setup here. So this is max distance. We're going to stretch out the sniper to its maximum distance. Yellow ring just near the edge of the rough line. So hoping that a great shank to the right would still stay in the rough. We're going to have a 30% downhill adjustment, so the sniper has a 10% built in, so I do 20% more than the wind rings. So in this case, I'd be looking to go 2 plus 6, 2.6 plus 13.5, which is about 16 rings. And yes, trust me, you need it all. So this is how we do it. Land right in the edge of the rough with 1/4 ball curl to the right. If you're playing a ball that has spin, this shot is a lot easier. Again, the setup is going to be 30% downhill, so I'm going to take the rings plus 20%. So in this case, I'm going to add about 2.2 rings. So I'd be adjusting to 13.8. Now, if you feel really confident with your landing zone precision, then that's good. If you don't, then we need to go the other direction. I feel fine, so, and this one actually worked out. Otherwise, I'll show the other setup in just a second. And this ball, the first bounce has to be pretty near the rough, pretty accurate. So if you're using a power zero ball, it's hard, but with any other ball, it's significantly easier. So this is the other approach, and let me just sketch the problems we have. First of all, there's a ridge here that we need to stay to the left of, and then there's also a hill over here that can catch us. So we need sort of an angle of attack from the right to the left as we play this. Also, we have an unstable landing zone here, and it's hard to play any other landing zone. There is a flatter spot here right above this sand trap, but it doesn't work well for me because I'm only playing this way when I have a headwind. And I end up adjusting down into that sand trap. So still playing this 30% downhill. So wind, the rings I play is wind plus 20%. And here you can see you want to kind of come in right to left and roll down. Now this wasn't very successful, but this is a hard hole, and this actually managed to win that tiebreak. So let's review the setup. I'm using 30% downhill. I'm using 3 bars of backspin. Now in this case, I'm going to use the straight draw 10-to-1 rule, and instead of 3 bars of backspin, which I used to set up the shot, I use 3 bars to set it up. I'm going to use only 2 bars of backspin at the end so that the rollout will be a little bit longer into this headwind. So again, this is a tough hole. If you find some better ways to play it, please put those comments down below. Always one of the hardest holes for me. I love it when I can hit that rough bump. And this is about the best one I've ever played on this hole coming down this way. And you see it getting close to the pin there. Again, getting within 2 to 3 yards on this hole will almost always win it for you. It's that hard. So we have a couple of problems here. The major problem is that there's a cliff back here, and if you get anywhere behind and left of the pin, you're going to roll 20 yards down into the ditch. The second problem is because of the ditch, bouncing over the trap is difficult. Now if you have a ball with spin, since I play So I play standard golf balls on this. I don't. You can come up here and put some spin on and go in this direction. But I had trouble controlling that with just curls. So here's my setup instead. So I'm playing this. This is 10% downhill. So I am just correcting. I'm going to use 6.5 rings. But my setup is to start with all maximum backspin and then line up my second bounce there with the edge of the rough. Now normally I want this to be the red to the rough line, but I messed this up slightly. And the next thing that I do, just that's not quite right, so you saw me, I back up 2 rings. I pull 2 rings back into the right, kind of along the direction of this rough line. And then, after doing the 2 rings back, then I pull the 6.5 rings in the direction that the wind is actually blowing. Okay, so final thing is I'm going to add 2.5, a little more than half a ball of left curl. Now here I had wind blowing right to left, so I only added a little more than a quarter ball, and that's why it comes in. So just to review, I'm going to set up. So the red ring is against the rough line here, and the second bounce is on the edge of the sand trap here. Then I'm going to pull back 2 rings in this direction, and then I'm going to do my wind correction. I'm going to leave the ball on maximum backspin and use a little more than half a ball of curl to the left. Okay, Eagle Peak 7, another massive downhill attempt. Now, a lot of people do come in from the right. I don't. If you're playing with a Power Zero ball, no spin, I find it really hard to control that bounce and get anywhere near the pin. So what I do is I'm going to land at the bottom. So my setup is to get the white ring against this tree here and the red ring against the back of against the rough line there. So I want to play this one 30% downhill. So here I would be adjusting to 11.2, 9.4 plus 1.8 to 11.2 rings. And then I want to put about 1 full ball of curl on this, but I had wind blowing from left to right, so I backed off to 3/4 of a ball of curl. That's the straight draw 10-to-1 rule. You can check out that video. Like the previous hole, we're playing with a lot of curl, and we also have a lot of elevation change. So this one, you can see me getting a little more aggressive. Instead of red line against the rough, I'm going yellow line. Why? Well, because the ball is going to move a lot because of that huge wind and the fact that I'm trying to use a lot of curl. The ball is going to be in the air longer. So I have used 20% downhill, but I gave it an extra ring or two, pulling back an extra ring or two to try to keep this thing on target. Also, instead of 1 full ball of curl, you see me pulling a little more to the right to try to counteract that wind that's kind of blowing a little bit to the left. The hardest wind on this hole is when you get a headwind. So this isn't a huge headwind, but still, because the ball is in the air so long and it's curving in, a headwind really gives us problems. And we're also going to make this, when there's a headwind, we end up often adjusting back into the trap, which makes it hard to get an accurate adjustment. So all those things said, if you get a headwind, go ahead and maybe even get the blue or the clear ring against the back of the rough line. I actually play it when I'm facing a headwind. I play it like it's 35% downhill. And there you go. I'm coming in pretty low. You can give it a little more spin and come up here. It comes down pretty well from that direction as well. So this is straight draw, playing Eagle Point. That's how I do it. Play free, have fun, straight out.